You've been a coach for years, maybe a decade, maybe even longer. Your clients are getting great results, real tangible results that you are genuinely proud of. You know your stuff. You have put in the time, you've done the work, you've earned the experience. And yet, coaches with a fraction of the experience, coaches who have been doing this for maybe 2 or 3 years, are somehow getting more clients, more visibility, and more income than what you are. And if you are being honest with yourself, it is so frustrating, not because you're jealous of them, but just because you know what you are capable of. And you know that the results that you get for people are so good. And something is just not adding up. So today I'm going to tell you exactly why that is happening. And I promise you, it has nothing to do with your talents. It is a structural problem. And a structural problem, the beauty of a structural problem is that structural problems have structural solutions. So let's get into that. I'm going to show you the 3 specific gaps that keep experienced coaches invisible online, no matter how good they are. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which one is your biggest bottleneck right now. Now, here's what happens to most coaches over 40. You spend years, sometimes even decades, becoming genuinely extraordinary at what you do. You invest in training, in your own coaching, in your own development. You work with clients, you get great results, you refine your methodology, you build what I call your deep expertise. And then at some point, you decide to take your coaching business online or to grow beyond just getting referrals. And you find yourself staring at a screen thinking, where do I even start? And here is the trap. Because you are so good at what you do, so deeply experienced, you actually find it harder to explain what you do in a really simple way that people can understand. I found that the more you know, the harder it is to talk about it in a way that instantly connects with someone who does not know you yet. Meanwhile, a coach with 2 years of experience has a simple message, a clear niche, and is showing up consistently online, and they are getting all the clients that you should be getting. Now, this is what I call the expertise trap, and it's one of the most common things I see in coaches over 40. But here's what I want you to understand. The problem is not your expertise. The problem is that nobody taught you how to translate that expertise into a structure that works online. And that is a very solvable problem. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 gaps in your coaching business. I'm just going to switch on my iPad here. All right. Let me quickly draw us a little triangle. Okay, so the first gap is called positioning. Now, and this is probably one of the most common ones that I find. Positioning is not your niche. It is not your tagline. It is not your bio. Positioning is the reason someone sees your content and immediately thinks, this person is talking directly to me. So when your positioning is off, and for most experienced coaches, it often is, your content tends to land flat. Not because it's bad content, but because the person reading it cannot immediately see themselves in your message. They cannot instantly tell that you are the right person for their specific problem. Think about it this way. If I said to you, I help people get healthier, you would think, okay, well, that's pretty vague. I mean, what do you do? Who do you help? Male, female, old, young, like it's a pretty vague statement. But if I said, I help established coaches over 40, trading hours for dollars to build a business that works without them, well, suddenly that's a very specific person that's going to lean forward. Now, that specificity is positioning. Now, most experienced coaches resist it because they're afraid of narrowing down. They think, what if I miss someone? What if I exclude a potential client? But here's the truth. Vague positioning does not actually attract everyone. It attracts no one because no one feels like you are talking to them specifically. So, what do we do to fix this? Well, you get ruthlessly specific. You get ruthlessly specific about who you help, what problem you solve, and what the result looks like. And then you make sure that that specificity is the first thing that people see when they land on your profile or they watch your content. Okay, the second gap, the second gap is the consistency gap. Now, I want to talk about this one honestly because most people talk about consistency in a way that makes coaches feel really guilty, and that is not helpful. Here is what I actually mean by consistency. It's not about posting every single day. It's not about being on every platform. It's not about grinding out content until you burn out. It's about having a system that keeps showing up for you even when you are not at your desk. Because here's what happens without that system. Um, the good old, let me draw it here, the good old roller coaster. Okay. So you have a good month and you get a whole bunch of clients in, and then you start getting busy. Ah. You get busy with your clients. You stop posting content. The leads stop coming in, and the inquiries stop. And you are back to starting from scratch again. And then you have to do the same thing all over again. That feast and famine cycle is not a motivation problem, it's a structure problem. And the problem is you don't have a content system, you have a content hustle, and hustle is not sustainable. Now, the fix for this problem is to have a lead generation system. Um, a system that we call in the success method the client attraction system. It's a specific set of daily and weekly actions, small, manageable, consistent, that keep new people entering your world every single week, even when you are coaching, even when you're on holiday, even when life happens. And when you have that system, consistency stops being a willpower problem and it starts being a system problem. And system problems are so much easier to solve. Okay, so our third gap is one of the ones that most coaches don't even realize that they have. And I call that the authority gap. Okay, now here's what I mean. In 2026, and I think we all feel this, skepticism online is at an all time high. People have been burnt by coaches who overpromise and underdeliver. They are so much more careful about who they invest in, and they need to see your expertise across multiple touch points before they are ready to say yes. Now, short form content gets attention, but it does not build that depth of trust required for a high ticket coaching investment. So you need both. You need content that attracts, and then you need content that converts through trust, through deep trust. And here's the thing about coaches over 40. You actually have an unfair advantage here if you use it correctly. Because at the end of the day, what builds trust? Depth, real experience, earned results, hard won wisdom, the ability to speak to someone's problem with a level of nuance that only comes from having actually lived it. Now, younger coaches can post flashy content, they can dance on TikTok, but they cannot replicate your 20 years of lived experience. They cannot replicate your scar tissue. And when someone is making a significant investment in their business, they want to work with someone who has actually been there and done it. Now, to fix this problem is what I call you need to build some trust and authority. Okay, content that goes deep, not just wide, long form content that demonstrates your thinking, your methodology, your results. Actually, something like this video. All right, so let me switch back here. So let's bring this together. The three structural gaps that keep experienced coaches invisible online are one, the positioning gap, which means your message is not specific enough for the right person to instantly recognize themselves in it. Number two is the consistency gap. You are hustling and you're not systemizing. You have no system that keeps leads coming in when life gets busy. And number three, the authority gap. You are not building deep enough trust with your content for people to feel ready to invest. Now, here's what I want you to do right now. I have a free quiz link below this video that will help you to diagnose exactly which of these gaps is your biggest bottleneck. It will take less than 2 minutes, and at the end of it, you will get a personalized result telling you specifically what to focus on first, because knowing is not enough. The next step is doing something about it. And you cannot fix a problem you have not clearly diagnosed first. So go and take the quiz. It only takes 2 minutes. The link is in the description right below this video. If you found this useful, please subscribe to our channel. We would so much appreciate it. Hit the like button to show us that you enjoyed the video, and share it with a coach you know who needs to hear this little message. There are a lot of brilliant coaches out there that's being overlooked, and the more we can change that, the better. That is it from me for today. I will see you in the next one.